Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
So that was the July 2019 debate in one of the most memorable exchanges in recent history between now presumptive Democrat nominee Kamala Harris and our guest today, Tulsi Gabbard, former U.S. representative as a Democrat and author of For Love of Country. And Tulsi's had a just very negative experience with these Democrats who are now pulling the strings around Kamala Harris too. But, you know, we went back, even though we're friends, and we fact checked everything you said, 100% accurate. There isn't one word of that was off. And it was pretty telling that she didn't deny it. She just tried to pivot to, I'm proud of my record. And so now she really is at a crossroads here because she's got to figure out whether she wants to be no, cash bail is a good thing, Kamala Harris, or no, we don't like cash bail because it hurts minorities, Kamala Harris, and whether she's going to be we want to prosecute marijuana users, Kamala Harris, or the one who admitted to smoking marijuana for recreation purposes on a show, right? Like, she's tried to reinvent herself so many times, and now the cultural winds have shifted such that I think she's going to be a little twisted on which way to land. What do you think?
First, I think it's important to look at how was it possible? You said that was July 2019. Kamala Harris, I think, announced her candidacy in January of 2019. How was it possible that I was the first candidate running for president at that time, and really the first person, even when you count the mainstream media, to actually call her out and question her very simply, as you pointed out, question her on her record that she said she was proud of as Attorney General. This is important to point out because it's a sign of what we should expect here for the next 3.5 months in this election, that the media is going to continue to push out fluff stories about her. They are not going to seriously and honestly examine her record. They're going to treat her with kid gloves, and even worse yet, create this new false narrative about who Kamala Harris is and to try to reshape her record. So we should be very clear-eyed about that, because as you said, what I found there, as you and your researchers probably found, it wasn't very hard to look at her record and what she's claiming to be proud of. Second of all, there's far more to look at than I had in the 60 seconds on that debate stage to bring up. Just a few. Defunding the police. I have no doubt she will say with a straight face she did not support defunding the police, but the fact is that she did. She may have called it reimagining law enforcement, but in reality, what she was advocating for, even as vice president, was to take funding away from our law enforcement and divert it elsewhere. And this has come, we've seen in cities that have actually implemented this policy and what a failure it has been and how it has made our communities in this country far less safe and increased crimes, violent crimes, and so forth, literally because they have defunded the police. You look back during her time as Attorney General, she promoted charging parents with a misdemeanor for truth if their kids missed more than 10% of days in school. Well, and she passed this into law, and it negatively impacted so many families who, for one reason or another, maybe they had pulled their kids out and were homeschooling them, or maybe a family member got sick and they weren't able to take their kids to school for a whole number of reasons. She turned parents into criminals, charging them with misdemeanors that could result in up to a year in jail, hauling single moms out of their homes in handcuffs. This is the kind of top cop prosecutor that Kamala Harris is proud of being. We look at her time as a member of the Judiciary Committee in the U.S. Senate, where she was dismissing Article 6 of the Constitution that says there shall be no religious test. When she questioned Boucher, who was nominated by President Trump to become a judge, accusing him of being unqualified to be a judge simply because of his Catholic faith, and he was a member of the Knights of Columbus, accusing him of being part of some nefarious group, and in fact, implementing a religious test in defiance of the Constitution. There are a lot of other examples that we can give, but again, this is why it's so important that we point out her actual record. And when you have someone who doesn't believe in the rule of law, as we've seen with the Biden-Harris administration's lawfare that's been taking place, politicizing our public institutions, the Department of Justice and Judiciary and law enforcement to go after their political opponents, foremost of which is Donald Trump, but also including peaceful pro-life protesters and others who dare to challenge their agenda and their position. She wants to be the top cop and the prosecutor president, as she has claimed. We should be very concerned about that because she doesn't respect the Constitution. She is not willing to uphold the oath that she took to support and defend the Constitution. And so the lawfare that we've seen under the Biden-Harris administration, we can only assume would only get worse as she seeks to exercise her muscle in that respect. There has to be a reckoning with her record as Attorney General, as U.S. Senator, and as Vice President. And I believe that most Americans, when presented with the truth, as you pointed out in that moment in the debate, will realize how dangerous she would be if she's to be given these levers of power to abuse.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is in addition to wanting Medicare for all and to eliminate our private insurance plans, wanting to eliminate the filibuster so that she can pass the Green New Deal and take away airplanes and cars and cows. This is actually stuff she's on the record with, not to mention her abortion policies. But here she is back in June of 2020, wanting to appease a riled up Democratic base in the wake of the George Floyd situation, being pretty clear about how she felt about cops on the street. Look at this.
It is outdated and is actually wrong and backward to think that more police officers will create more safety.
A big part of this conversation really is about reimagining how we do public safety in America, which I support, which is this. We have confused the idea that to achieve safety, you put more cops on the street.
You know, for far too long, the status quo thinking has been to believe that by putting more police on the street, you're going to have more safety. And that's just wrong. That's not how it works.
So that's the new Kamala Harris, right? Not the old one who was a DA and a prosecutor. The new one is, we don't need more cops. Fewer cops is the way. And now here we are 4 years later. We've seen what a disaster that's been, in particular for communities of color, Tulsi. Those are the ones who got hurt the worst by that insane policy that she helped push.
You know, those clips, that string of clips you just played, really once again exposes her lack of knowledge and understanding and intelligence to be so simplistic as to say, well, more cops doesn't lead to safer streets. Well, it's a much bigger challenge than this. My sister served in law enforcement. I have a lot of friends who are serving in local, state, county, federal law enforcement. It's about investing in our fellow Americans who make this very selfless choice to go and put their lives and well-being and safety on the line every single day to make our communities safe. It's not a matter of just mere numbers. It's about investing in them. their training and their capabilities to be able to face the kinds of extreme challenges that they do on a daily basis. It's about making sure that we have systems in place to be able to support them as they deal with these very traumatic situations, and make it so that they are in a position to be most successful, building those relationships with our communities, investing in local police officers who are serving their local communities, and making it so that they and their families have that safety and security of knowing that they're cared for. It's taking this holistic approach to this challenge that we've been dealing with law enforcement and increasingly more dangerous streets, equipping them with what they need in order to accomplish the reason why so many people become law enforcement in the first place, which is to serve and to protect.
Some Americans enjoy using their credit cards because it can be a hassle-free and secure way to pay. But our sponsor, the American Payments Coalition, says that some DC politicians want to change all that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. They say this bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, which allows them to use untested payment networks that could jeopardize your data security and rewards. They say corporate megastores will make more money and you will wind up paying the price. Find out more at guardyourcard.com and consider telling Congress to guard your card while you're there, too. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.